Watch this video every day and change your life. If you've ever felt like no matter how hard you try, something or someone keeps holding you back, then this message is for you. You see, most people think that their failures come from lack of talent, lack of discipline, or bad luck. But the truth is often much simpler. It's about the company you keep. The people around you either fuel your growth or feed your destruction. And the sad part? Many of us carry toxic relationships for years without realizing how much they are poisoning our potential. Life is short. Every single day you spend with the wrong people is a day stolen from the life you could be living. That's why this message is not about anger, revenge, or blame. It's about clarity. It's about courage. It's about protecting your peace so you can finally step into the future you were meant to live. Because let's be real, you cannot live a powerful life if you're constantly surrounded by people who drain your energy, belittle your progress, and chain you to the past. So today, we're going to talk about 5 types of people you must cut out of your life before it's too late. And trust me, this isn't about being selfish. It's about self-respect. It's about deciding that your peace, your dreams, and your future are worth more than keeping the wrong company. Let's dive in. The first person is what I like to call the competitor. At first glance, competition can seem like a good thing. After all, a little challenge can push you forward, right? But here's where the danger lies. A healthy competitor claps when you win because they know there's enough success for everyone. A toxic competitor, they're not clapping, they're calculating. Every step you take forward feels to them like a personal attack, and instead of being proud of you, they feel threatened. Imagine telling your friend you finally got a promotion after months of late nights and sacrifices. Instead of celebrating with you, they say something like, "Oh, I had that role 2 years ago and my raise was bigger." Or you share your fitness progress, how you finally ran your first 10K, and they reply, "That's nothing. I did a half marathon last month." Do you see what's happening? Instead of making space for your joy, they steal it. Instead of fueling your confidence, they chip away at it. And here's the trap. You start shrinking yourself to protect their ego. You stop sharing your victories. You downplay your blessings. You live smaller, not because you're not capable, but because you're scared of making someone else uncomfortable. That's not friendship. That's bondage. The truth is, life is not a race. You are not here to compete against anyone else. You are here to run your own marathon, on your own track, at your own pace. The only person you should be competing with is the version of yourself from yesterday. If someone in your life can't handle your growth, that's a reflection of their insecurity, not your worth. Letting go of the toxic competitor doesn't mean you don't care about them. It means you care enough about yourself to stop living in their shadow. Surround yourself with people who clap so loudly for you that their joy feels almost like your own. These are the people who want to see you win, because your success inspires them instead of intimidating them. These are the ones who will remind you that your shine doesn't dim their light. It makes the whole room brighter. And those are the people worth keeping. Now let's talk about the second person, the user. This one is tricky because on the surface, they often look like they care. They smile, they call, they show up, but only when they need something. Their friendship comes with strings attached. You're the one they call when they need a ride, when they need money, when they need emotional support. But when the tables turn, when you need someone to lean on, they're nowhere to be found. Here's how you know you're dealing with a user. After you hang out with them, you don't feel lifted, you feel drained. You replay the conversation in your head and realize it was all about their problems, their needs, their agenda. It's a one-way street, and you're doing all the driving. Think about this for a moment. Relationships are supposed to be exchanges of energy. Sometimes you give more, sometimes you receive more, but there's a rhythm, a balance, a flow. With users, there's no balance. They take and they take and they take until you're left questioning your value. And the dangerous part? They often disguise their selfishness as neediness. They make you feel guilty for saying no, so you keep giving, even when it's destroying you. But here's the harsh truth you need to hear. Helping someone who refuses to pour back into you is not kindness, it's self-destruction. Generosity is beautiful, but when it turns into exploitation, It's no longer love, it's slavery. Cutting the user out of your life doesn't mean you've stopped being a kind or compassionate person. It means you're wise enough to set boundaries. It means you've learned that your time, your energy, and your heart are precious resources, and not everyone deserves unlimited access to them. When you free yourself from users, something powerful happens. You create space for genuine relationships. The kind of relationships where someone checks in on you, not because they need something, but because they care. The kind of people who celebrate your wins, cry with you in your losses, and walk beside you in both. That's the love you deserve, and you won't find it if your life is overcrowded with users. Now that we've talked about the competitor and the user, let's move on to another type of person you need to recognize quickly before they drain you of your confidence and peace. This one is dangerous because their weapon is subtle. It's not always loud, it's not always obvious, but it cuts deep. I'm talking about the blamer. You've probably met someone like this before. The blamer is the person who never ever takes responsibility for their actions. If they fail an exam, it's the teacher's fault for making the test too hard. If they lose a job, it's the manager's fault for not appreciating their brilliance. If they show up late, it's traffic, bad luck, the weather, the universe, anything and anyone except themselves. And if you spend enough time around a blamer, guess what happens? You become their favorite scapegoat. Suddenly, their mistakes are your fault. Their disappointments somehow become your responsibility. You didn't remind them, you didn't help enough, you didn't warn them. They twist situations in such a way that you start questioning yourself, even when you did nothing wrong. Here's the real problem with blamers. They block growth. Growth requires accountability. If you can't admit that you messed up, how can you ever get better? Mistakes are not the enemy. Denial is. Every successful person you admire, every mentor, every leader, they all made mistakes. The difference is they owned them. They asked, what can I learn from this? And then they leveled up. But blamers, they stay stuck. And worse, they drag you down with them. Think about the mental energy it takes to constantly defend yourself against someone else's accusations. Think about how heavy it feels to carry blame that doesn't belong to you. That's not just frustrating, it's toxic. And over time, it chips away at your self-esteem. Because when you're told often enough that you're at fault, you start believing it, even when it's a lie. So what do you do when there's a blamer in your life? You step back. You set boundaries. You realize that their inability to take responsibility has nothing to do with your worth and everything to do with their fear of facing the truth. And here's something liberating. You don't have to fix them. It is not your job to carry someone else's denial on your back. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself and for them is to step out of the line of fire. When you release the blamer, you free yourself from unnecessary guilt and you create space for relationships built on honesty, accountability, and respect. And that brings us to the fourth person you must let go of, the complainer. If the blamer poisons you with guilt, the complainer poisons you with negativity. This is the person who always sees the worst in everything. The weather is too hot, the food is too cold, the job is too stressful, the family is too demanding. They have an endless list of grievances, and they carry it like a badge of honor. At first, you might feel sympathy. You might think, they're just going through a rough patch. Maybe I can help them see the brighter side. But spend enough time with a complainer and you'll notice something scary. Their mindset starts rubbing off on you. Negativity is contagious. You begin to pick up on their perspective. Instead of seeing opportunities, you start seeing problems. Instead of gratitude, you start focusing on what's missing. And before you know it, your mind has been trained to spot the worst in every situation. Here's the truth. Complaining doesn't solve problems, it multiplies them. Think about it. Has complaining about the weather ever made the sun shine? Has complaining about your boss ever magically fixed the workplace? Of course not. Complaining is a habit of focusing on the problem instead of the solution, and it steals the energy you could be using to actually make changes. Now let me make something clear. There's a difference between venting and chronic complaining. We all need to vent sometimes. We're human. Life gets overwhelming and sharing our frustrations can be healthy. But the complainer isn't just venting. They're living in it. They've built a permanent home in negativity, and they want you to move in with them. And if you're not careful, you will. So how do you deal with complainers? First, recognize the effect they're having on your spirit. If you notice yourself leaving conversations feeling heavy, discouraged, or hopeless, that's a red flag. Next, choose gratitude as your shield. Gratitude is the antidote to complaining. The moment you start focusing on what you do have, on what's going right, on the blessings you often overlook, you starve negativity of its power. And finally, limit your exposure. You don't have to be cruel, but you do have to protect your peace. It's okay to step back from people who constantly pull you into their storm. Let me leave you with a story. There was a woman I once coached who had big dreams of starting her own business. But every time she shared her ideas with her friend group, they'd shoot them down. Too risky, they'd say. Too expensive. That'll never work. After years of hearing this, she started believing it herself. Then one day, she finally realized it wasn't her dream that was impossible. It was her environment that was toxic. The moment she stepped away from those complainers and surrounded herself with people who encouraged her, her confidence skyrocketed. Within a year, she launched that business, and it flourished. That's the power of cutting complainers out of your life. When you do, you make room for optimism, action, and hope. And when you fill your environment with those qualities, nothing is impossible. We've talked about the competitor, the user, the blamer, and the complainer. Each one of these people can chip away at your confidence and peace if you let them. But now we come to the most dangerous of all, the one that doesn't just drain your energy or cloud your mindset, but can completely break your spirit if you stay too long. I'm talking about the abuser. Now, I want to be very clear here. Abuse doesn't always look like bruises or shouting matches. Abuse can be subtle. It can be emotional, verbal, psychological, and it can creep into your life in ways that make you question your own reality. An abuser thrives on control. They manipulate you, belittle you, and slowly convince you that you are less than you really are. At first, you may not even notice it. They might cover their cruelty with words like, "I'm only saying this because I care," or "I just want what's best for you." But over time, you start to feel small, powerless, and unworthy. Here's the truth you need to hear. Nobody has the right to make you feel unsafe, unloved, or unworthy. Nobody. If someone constantly puts you down, if they make you doubt your own value, if they rob you of joy instead of adding to it, that is not love. That is abuse. And the longer you stay, the deeper the scars become. I know walking away isn't easy. In fact, it might be the hardest thing you'll ever do. Abusers often create a cycle. They hurt you, then apologize, then hurt you again. They mix cruelty with affection, so you're left confused, wondering if maybe you're overreacting, maybe you're too sensitive, maybe it really is your fault. But listen closely. It is not your fault. And the moment you realize that, you take back your power. Leaving an abuser takes immense courage, but it's one of the greatest acts of self-love you will ever perform, and you don't have to do it alone. Seek support from trusted friends, from family, from professionals who understand what you're going through. Find a community that will remind you of your worth when you've forgotten it yourself. Because freedom is not just about walking away. It's about healing, rebuilding, and learning to love yourself again. And here's the beautiful part. When you cut out an abuser, you create space for real love. The kind of love that lifts you up instead of tearing you down. The kind of love that makes you feel safe, respected, and seen. That love might come from new friends, from a healthier relationship, or even from yourself. Because self-love is the foundation of everything else. So let's take a step back and reflect. Out of all the people we've talked about, the competitor, the user, the blamer, the complainer, and the abuser, ask yourself, who in your life fits these roles? Whose presence makes you smaller instead of stronger? Whose energy leaves you drained instead of inspired? Be honest with yourself, because your future depends on it. Remember, you are the architect of your life. You decide who gets a seat at your table. You decide who has the privilege of walking beside you on this journey. And you don't owe anyone permanent access just because they've been around for a long time. History does not equal destiny. Just because someone has been part of your past doesn't mean they deserve to be part of your future. Think of your life like a garden. If you want it to bloom, You have to pull the weeds. Not because you hate weeds, but because you love your flowers. Cutting people out of your life isn't about bitterness, it's about growth. It's about protecting the beauty, the joy, the peace that you are cultivating inside yourself. And let me tell you this, when you do it, when you finally let go of the wrong people, something amazing happens. The weight lifts, the fog clears. You start to see possibilities you couldn't see before. You have more energy, more focus, more confidence. It's like opening a window in a stuffy room. The fresh air rushes in and suddenly you can breathe again. That's the life you deserve. A life where you wake up excited instead of anxious. A life where your relationships feel like fuel, not chains. A life where you walk with people who celebrate you, challenge you, and inspire you to grow. That life is possible, but it starts with a choice. The choice to stop settling for less than you deserve. So here's my challenge to you. Take a moment today to evaluate the relationships in your life. Be brutally honest. Ask yourself, does this person lift me up or pull me down? Do they make me feel valued or invisible? Do they inspire me to grow, or do they keep me stuck? And if the answer isn't what you want it to be, it's time to make a change. Not tomorrow, not someday. Today, because life is too short to waste on the wrong people. Thank you for walking through this journey with me. I know these conversations aren't easy, but they are necessary. And if this message resonated with you, if you found yourself nodding, if you felt that spark of recognition, then I invite you to join this community of growth and empowerment. Like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe so you don't miss the next message. Together, we can create a space where positivity, love, and respect are the foundation of everything we do. Until next time, remember this: you deserve a life filled with love, peace, and joy. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. Keep shining, keep growing, and keep moving forward. Your best days are ahead of you, and they begin the moment you choose yourself.